Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. I want to first thank everyone for joining us, and thanks for joining Career Innovations and taking time out of your evening or afternoon to actually stay and work with us on any questions that you may have. This session will be recorded. It actually is added to our actually uploaded to our growing YouTube channel. If you ever miss a session, or for whatever reason you want to go out and check out some of our past Q&A sessions, just go to YouTube and type in Career Innovations. You're going to put it together as one word, no space, and you're able to go to our actual page and look at some of our past workshops that we done. And the best part about it, since everything says Q&A or job seekers Q&A session, you can click in the description and look at the questions in the descriptions, so you don't have to sit through a 45-minute video if it's something that may not pertain to you. So I actually put the questions in the description so you'll get an idea what that particular Q&A session is going to cover. So this is the first slide I have. This is something that we're going to actually be talking about as we move forward. But I had this as the first slide because I wanted everyone to look at pretty much the layout of some type of schedule or timeline you should have when you're looking for a job. And let me just go through. If you submitted a question prior to the workshop, that means you emailed it to me or you put the question in with your registration, it actually will appear on the slides. If you, for whatever reason, wasn't able to send me your question beforehand, you have the option to ask questions one or two ways following the actual presentation. You can raise your hand. If you put in your audio pin, I can unmute your mic and you can verbally ask your question, or you can type your question either in the question or chat box below. So that will allow you to actually write the question without raising your hand. And if you have a question right now, I urge you to go ahead and put it in there, so by the end your question be one of the first questions I answer. For those of you that first time actually attending one of our sessions and may not know who or what Career Innovations is about, this is who we are. We are an executive search firm. We've launched in 2007 and been going strong since. We pride ourselves in innovative technology and finding tools to locate the best talent for our clients. One of the reasons why we also offer this Q&A session, because we come in contact with many job seekers, some that may be gainfully employed, some may that been out of work for a very long time. And as a search firm, of course, we cannot place every single person that comes across our desk. It's virtually impossible. So that way we wanted to give some type of resource to give back. So even though we can't place you for whatever reason, maybe we don't have a position available, maybe your skill set doesn't match with our clients, we still want to offer some resource that you can go back to and implement and actually make your job search a little bit easier. I'm Bridget Baggett. I am the Director of Staffing and Recruiting, as well as the founder of Career Innovations. One of my true passions is organizational change. I truly believe that the culture starts with the company's core values, and it's the foundation for attracting and retaining top talent. As you can see, some of the services that we do offer in addition to our training is resume writing, career coaching, market research, compensation benchmarking, as well as referral and retention workshops. Today's quote, if you have attended before, I always like to start off with some type of word of wisdom. Always remember, your focus determines your reality. And sometimes as a job seeker, we can get discouraged, especially if we're getting a lot of no's, if we're not getting the interviews, we tend to beat ourselves up, but you always want to have a focus. You always want to have something that that at the end of the day, this is what your main goal is. And once you lose focus, this sometimes can cloud your judgment as well as your reality. So I really do like this particular quote. So moving on to the first slide, which was the very first thing that you saw when we logged on, is this particular slide. And I thought that this was very important. That's why I wanted to put it together in a kind of like a timeline format, because at the end of the day, I always get a question: how long is this going to take? How long is my job search going to take? I've been out of work for X amount of months. I have people that have been out of work going on a couple of years. So you may want to ask yourself, okay, what's your timeline? And of course everyone's going to tell you, well, as soon as possible. Well, does your actions match your ultimate goal? There's a lot of people say that, I'm looking for a job ASAP, but they really don't have a plan that they put together to locate a job, not just a job they found online, but have a laser focus to lock in a particular job beyond the job board. And that's the key right here. You want to go beyond the job board, which means that if you're just applying to positions online, you're no different from the other 500 applicants. How are you going to get yourself to stand out? So you want to go beyond that. You want to have some type of strategic plan in place that's going to take you beyond that particular job posting. And it starts with what this slide is showing you. You want to make an assessment. An assessment's more than a list of companies or a list of target organizations that you want to zoom in on. And it goes beyond what positions they have open. That's just the status quo. Of course, you're going to be looking at what positions can I fit, or where would I fit in this organization. That's just the basics. You want to go beyond that. You want to find, if this is a job I'm going to apply to, I want to know the decision makers in the organization. I want to know who I'm going to report to. I even want to know, if it's a managerial position, what team am I going to manage? And of course, this takes a little bit of research. So that's why when you do your assessment, it's more than just putting in a word that you're filtering, looking for those posts. You're actually taking time to put together a plan of companies that you want to target, and not only target their jobs, but target the decision makers. Because at the end of the day, those are the people that they're going to determine whether or not you get an interview or whether or not you make it to the next round in the interviewing process. So once you make that assessment and you've researched those target markets, and it goes beyond, are they hiring? It's also looking at, what are their competitors doing? Is this industry stable? Is it growing? And we kind of see that as a marker when you decide to go into an industry. Is this something that I can see myself in 3, 5, or 10 years from now? So this is something that you really want to make sure that you're are taking time to take a look at. And once you put that together, you want to have some type of marketing plan that you're going to implement. And it goes back to the basics. How are you going to get yourself in front of these decision makers outside of, first of all, applying online, and outside of just having a resume? Because now we're in an environment where people are finding creative ways to get themselves in front of decision makers. And sometimes it naturally boils down to who you know. I've actually spoke about this in past workshops that, I've seen people that I haven't looked at their resume twice, and I may have thought that they weren't a good fit, but come to find out they know someone that works there and they get the job. And I can have a great candidate that, on paper and their credentials and their experience, blows this person out the park, but I see them get the job because they have a relationship with someone that already works there. It happens all the time. So you want to make sure that you're putting some type of plan together that incorporates networking with some of these decision makers, joining organizations in which you can rub elbows with the people that are making decisions in the organization, and have some type of timeline in place, which means getting out of your comfort zone. It may mean picking up the phone, asking for that informational interview, asking to get a cup of coffee, asking if you can come in and just shadow, whatever it takes for you to actually start to build a relationship. I had someone that I actually encouraged to start sending articles of interest. Let them know that they know what their company is doing and how they are, above the particular curveball. They may be in an industry that they're looking for a sales job, or they're developing a product or service, and they may know something about the competitor that they can bring to the table. So now this not only turns into, I'm looking for a job, you have become a valuable asset when you can give information to the employer. other than asking them for a favor in return, which may be an interview or maybe, look at my resume, whatever the case may be, because they get those requests all the time. So you want to make sure that you're going to stand out, and in order to do that, you're going to have some type of strategic marketing plan in place. And I actually had the times and the dates as far as now, tomorrow, 1 week, 2 weeks. Again, this is nothing that's in stone. This is something that you have to set for yourself. I do want to tell you that, again, this is something that you just don't do overnight. This takes time, but you want to be able to put time into make sure you're researching these companies and these decision makers. And the next one shows that you want to make sure that you're making connections. So whatever you have to do to make those connections, you want to make sure that you're putting your name out there. And on one of my last slides, I'm going to talk about how, not only using social media, but getting that face-to-face is, it's crucial for when you're looking for a position. And I tell people, unplug. It's okay to, set time aside to apply online, but you also need to unplug and get out there and start shaking hands, passing out your business card, letting people know that you're available for work. And next thing would be, after you do that, you want to either have some type of interview, and it should be coming up with accepting the offer. But the thing that I see a lot of people don't do when they do attend a networking events and they do reach out to employers and they get that first no, they never follow up again. If it was going to be that easy, we wouldn't have an unemployment rate. You're going to get the no's. The tenacity stands in the follow-up. Are you following up with these employers, even if they are telling you no? How are you taking that? Are you asking them for an overview of the interview? Are you asking them for feedback? And I know some people say, well, some of these big organizations don't give you feedback. And I understand. And I'm not saying they don't, because there are some organizations that, they rather keep a very straight and narrow standard. We found someone with better skill set and they leave it at that. I understand that. There's a lot of things out there that they don't want to dance around as far as, discrimination or anything, of that nature if they say the wrong thing. So I can understand that some companies may not give you a full-fledged, honest approach, but believe me, there are a lot of companies that will, or individuals that say, hey, off the record, your interview was kind of XYZ. You came off kind of this, that they didn't feel that you were confident in what you said. And I've actually had people say that they didn't believe their resume. It sounds scripted. So you want to make sure that when you are interviewing that you're coming across, first of all, as believable, and you have confidence in the solution that you're trying to sell. And keep in mind, I didn't say that you are selling yourself, you are selling a solution. Because many people hire employees because they have a problem that needs to be solved. And usually the person that they hire is going to be the person that has the best solution. How can they solve this problem? Hey, we need a marketing manager. We need someone to do X, Y, Z. We have a problem. How is this potential marketing manager going to solve our problem? How is this particular IT developer going to solve our problem? Our sales are down. We need a salesperson. How is this sales executive going to solve our problem? So they're looking for solutions. So you want to make sure that you're giving them the best solution possible. The next question I had was how to advance my education on a limited budget. And I know that when I talk to many people and I give presentations, I always talk about, having some type of employable skill set, not only employable, but current. Time has changed. Which got you your job 10 or 15 years ago may not get you a job today. And I tell people that times have changed, requirements have changed, technology has changed, which means that at the end of the day, you're going to have to make some changes, whether you want to or not. But in order to keep up with the economy and keep your employable skills current, you might have to invest in going back to school or getting that certification or putting out money to attend that seminar to brush up on what's happening in current events. And this is regardless of industry. We're not just talking about IT or engineering or healthcare. We're talking about across the board. So this is one thing that I want to talk about. This was like a Project X timeline to the market, and someone asked about how can I look for educational programs that, either are free or low cost. And these were some of the non-traditional free online programs I saw. If you have a pen and pad, definitely jot them down. I found these. I'm familiar with these, so that's why I put these up there. But this is just the tip of the iceberg that's out there. This is nothing compared to every single program that's out there that offers some type of free or low-cost platform. What I'm first going to say is, if you're looking for ways to increase your knowledge and say that you don't have the money, the way to get best exposure, not only by industry but from professionals that are currently working in the field, is joining your industry related associations. And these are probably, I wouldn't say, not all of them are cheap, but I think they're pretty low cost investment that you'll make on an annual basis to get as much information as you do. And I know that some, hey, if you're a member, you get access to their entire, online library, and you get to meet some of the executives, and they have different, events every month that you can attend. So that to me is a great investment. So that's my first approach. Of course, you have your community college that offer very low cost, in some cases, depending on your situation, free courses that you can take. My next approach is free online programs, and these are some of them right here. As you can see, most of these courses you can take free online classes. Some of them have partnered up not only with local schools but Ivy League schools. Coursera, you could take free online courses from 115 top universities. They have partnered with Stanford, Yale, Princeton, and others to offer online programs that you can take absolutely no cost. The other one is called Open Culture. They have 1,100 plus free online courses from leading universities. Again, they have partnered up with Stanford, Yale, MIT, Harvard, Berkeley, Oxford, and more. Again, these are places that you can download their audio and their visual programs where you can follow along with the coursework in an audio or visual format. And actually take the course, and again, these are courses that are coming from these particular schools. edX, again, they also partner up with some of the top leading schools as well. Definitely type these into your computer. Don't take my word. Go to the sites. They tell you how to do it. OEDB is their free online database. That's what OEDB stands for. It's called Open Education Database. There's no degrees, no fees, or no admissions. It's just an open database of free online classes. And it provides high quality education to anyone that wants to learn. So if you're, in a particular industry that you need to brush up on a skill set, sales, marketing, IT, hey, I need to brush up on my Excel, I need to brush up on my Microsoft, whatever the case may be, these are resources that you can take that are absolutely no cost to you. Another one is Udacity. If you are actually in IT, this is definitely an IT professional website or platform that gives IT professional or somebody that wants to learn IT. They're free courses. You can learn how to build apps, learn how to be an iOS developer, websites, learn how to build websites, learn how to code. All these things that, hey, maybe you're thinking about getting to IT. Maybe you say, hey, this is a hot industry. I always wanted to learn how to build an app. I always wanted to learn how to build a website. There's courses out there that teach you for absolutely no cost. And I actually met a gentleman that self-taught himself how to build websites. And to this day, he has his own business building websites. And that's all he does. And he said he makes more money building websites than he ever did in corporate America. And he self-taught himself how to do it. Didn't go to school, didn't go get a computer science degree. He went online, took some of these online courses, taught himself. And again, I'm making it sound like this is something that he did in a week. didn't happen. This is something that he stuck to over time, and he got so good that he built his own website as a protege or a prototype, and he attracted so much attention to that, people actually started asking him, hey, can you build me one? And before you know it, he had a book of business. So it's a lot of things that you can do. Allison also does not only free courses, but they do free certificates and certifications. So you can go online and get a free. I actually went on Allison and saw they have a free HR certificate. It's self-paced. You go on, you take the classes, you listen to their videos, listen to their audio, follow along, you take a couple of quizzes and assessments, you pass it, and you get an actual certification. So yeah, once you take the quizzes and assessments and you pass all that, and I think you have a certain amount that you can't miss, or a certain amount you have to get right, but yeah, they give you a certification after finishing the entire program, no cost. And I just did that just since I was in HR. I said, well, let me see if they have any HR certifications, and long and behold, they did. Not only courses, but an actual certification. And people may say, what's the big deal about this? It's not a degree, but it's something that shows that you've stuck to something and finished it, and it builds value. It builds upon what you already have. And it also shows character. Who else would take initiative for something they really don't have to do? Again, no one's forcing you to do that, but it also shows a particular type of person you are to go out there, take initiative, be able to have some type of self-discipline to finish these programs. And it definitely looks good on your resume. So again, a lot of these things you get your own login, not, on top of getting, building value and getting any type of certification is a great networking opportunity. A lot of them have rooms where you're actually networking with other people that are taking the same coursework with you. Great opportunity, once again, to actually talk to people and connect with people that may be in your industry. So this is something that I did have a question for, and I did want to put some of the research or some of the resources I found. And again, this is the tip of the iceberg. If you want to find more, just go to Google, type in free online courses, and you'll probably see a couple of these come up on your first page. But I'm pretty sure, and I'm not pretty sure, I know for a fact, if you go there, you're going to see some of them I haven't even put up here. Like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So many platforms out there that have moved to professional education and found that this is something that, because not only unemployment, because things change so rapidly, they found that this is something that's needed to keep people up to date with the changing economy. So definitely take a look at that as well. Next one, destination unknown. 62% of job seekers have landed their job other ways besides a job board. And I think this was important to put this up here because when you think of finding a job, the first thing or the first line of defense is, let me log on to Indeed, or let me log on to Monster or LinkedIn. And all that's good. All that's fine and good, but I can tell you a lot of jobs I come across aren't even posted online. So you're missing, a big chunk of what you can actually have by not doing some of the following things, which means not building some type of personal network. And as you can see in this particular pie chart, and I adapted this from Job Search Digest, so I didn't just pull these figures out the air. I actually did a little bit of research on this. And they found that, okay, job board and a recruiter is 38%. And as you can see, 38%, that's a pretty big chunk. But you're left with 62% of untapped resources. That's even a bigger chunk. So if you're only relying on a job board or waiting for that recruiter to call you back, you're doing yourself a big disservice because there's other avenues that you're not touching. 41%, they said it actually came from their personal network. They knew someone that knew someone that knew someone, point blank. That's how they got their job. Or, they were part of an association where someone said, hey, are you looking? Or, hey, we're looking for XYZ. Do you know someone? That personal network can also include references, also can include referrals, co-workers, colleagues. They found their job other than looking it up online. That's pretty much what personal network is. Previous employer, which means that you reached out to a previous employer that probably points you in the right direction. That was about 3%. School related. These are people that tapped into their alumni network. If you finished college, whether it was a 2-year, 4-year, or vocational degree, go back and look at your career service program or department at your school. Check out the alumni department. See if they have any postings. See if they're looking for anyone. Not so much entry level if you're a seasoned employee, but that can at least give you insight that what particular companies are hiring. So they're saying that 15% of people actually reached back out to either a college alumni, reached out to someone that was related or associated with their school, and found employment that way. And they also said 3% was other, which means, it could have been a combination of ways or wasn't actually documented on how they found it. But you can also see that a big chunk of the pie doesn't come from job boards. So the way you're going to do that, you're going to have to figure out what your career goals are, what type of marketing plan that you're going to implement, and are you doing some type of diversification? Are you diversifying the way you look for a job? And that's the first thing I ask when I have a one-on-one, either through career coaching or even when I edit a resume. I ask them, how are you looking for a job? What tools are you using, or what resources are you using, or what are you doing to find a job? And you'll be amazed that besides job board, no one says nothing else. Well, I apply online, and I even have some people have a set schedule. My goal is to apply to this many jobs every day. They have a set schedule of how many jobs they're going to apply to. Not to say that doesn't work, but look at the untapped resources that you're leaving behind. Yeah, I'm not saying don't apply online. Schedule that time to apply online, but also schedule time to attend networking events. Also schedule time to research industry-related associations you can join. Or better yet, if you're a very seasoned employee, which means that you have 10, 15 years under your belt, not just join, see if you can actually speak. Give a training session. Not only be a member, be active. Give back. So that's what I mean by the diversification. Find other ways that you're reaching out, and timing. And at the end of the day, it can boil down to timing. And again, this can be something that's, not can be. At the end of the day, it's something that is out of your control. That's kind of like when opportunity meets luck, at the right time. And it really has nothing to do with nothing more than that, depending on your beliefs. It could be luck, it could be a blessing, whatever you believe in. Sometimes it's just the right time. Hey, we're not hiring first quarter, but I'll call you third. And just so happen, hey, I'm still looking. Hey, we got a match. Sometimes it's just the timing. I've worked with clients that, hey, we're trying to hire third or fourth quarter, and for whatever reason, has nothing to do with the candidate. The candidate can be, someone they want to hire, matches the description to a T. They have the work ethic. They mesh well with the hiring managers, but something happens that out of their control. The budget may get cut. They may go under a hiring freeze. That position may be closed. Something that's out of your control. So sometimes that can happen, and again, that's nothing you can do about it. But it goes back to, once again, having that marketing plan, having that strategic plan in place. So if one or two things fall through, you got many other things in the pipeline. You're not crying over spilled milk. So if one or two things fall through or don't follow through the way you want them to, hey, I got 10 other things. I got 10 other arms in the fire. Something's going to bust. Something's going to happen. So that's what you want to do. Have an active pipeline at all times. This is one more tip that I want to give everyone. And this is about using social media as well, and somehow using this in addition to applying online, and kind of using this with your search efforts. And I know a lot of people say they're on LinkedIn, and being on LinkedIn and being active are two different things. You can have a profile every day of the week, but if you don't have the right keywords, if you just have your name, where you work, and a couple of lines of what you do, guess nobody knows you're on it and nobody can find you. And I've seen, I call them skeleton profiles. Some don't even have a picture. So if you're not being serious with social media, this is hopefully this is a wake-up call to let you know that this is something that people are using in some cases as their first line of defense. And you're probably saying, why are they using this as their first line of defense? I can tell you why. As most things in business revolve around money. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything to get a profile. It doesn't cost me anything to get a profile. I don't have to pay to search for anyone. But guess what? That job board ad you click on, that costs my company money. In some cases, it can cost $300 to $500 a posting. And I don't know if you've been online, some of these companies may have 20 or 30 postings at a time. And just because you post it doesn't guarantee you're going to get an applicant to apply that's qualified. So they take a gamble by paying that much for a post. I know some people post a job and 98% of the resumes are junk. So the reason why people are kind of anteing up their social media as a way or as an avenue to find top talent is because, first of all, it's either cheap for some of the tools they can use. In many cases, it's free. So if you're not utilizing your social network where people can find you, and I do this all the time when I'm looking for a particular candidate, and I got those keywords that client wants. I'm putting them in LinkedIn, and you may be the best fit, but you don't have these keywords, or you don't have this particular phrase I'm looking for. You don't come up in my profile. If you do, you're on page 5, and I found what I'm looking for on page 2. So I might not even get to page 5, 8, 9, or 10. So you want to make sure that you're not utilizing a skeleton LinkedIn profile. And many people are. As you can see, this was actually in 2012. I have to get more recent data because it takes a lot. It takes them a while to get the results, and people take the polls. But I can tell you, this is 2012. It goes back as 2010. We're in 2015. I think 93% is probably 98% now. But back in 2012, 93% of employers were using LinkedIn as their #1 source to find talent. 93%. And like I said, in 2015, that's probably gone up to 98%. And the 2% that's not are probably under a rock. Because I can tell you, from me doing this from 2007 up to now, I'm yet to have a client that never used LinkedIn. In fact, before they contact me, they've already exhausted LinkedIn. Because you know why? They're not going to pay me a fee to find someone that they can find for free on their own. That's why. So when they call me, they've already pretty much exhausted their possibilities with LinkedIn. They've been there, done that. And like I said, I haven't had a client come to me say, nope, didn't check LinkedIn yet. Nope, that's what I'm going to pay you for. Hasn't happened yet. Wish it has. That would be an easy check. But hasn't happened. So I'm telling you, again, Facebook is getting big now. 66% was using it in 2012. I'm pretty sure that probably went up to 75 or 80% by now. Why? Probably I wouldn't be surprised if it went up to 90. Why? Because there's more people on Facebook than LinkedIn. Now LinkedIn probably, I think the last time I checked, they hit their 300 million mark. They're probably up to about 400 million now. Facebook has over 1 billion users. So a lot of people are starting to tap into Facebook to find professional people because they now figure everybody has a Facebook now. I've been on sites. I have actually been on sites that I subscribe to that won't let you log in without a Facebook account. And it makes me mad because I don't want to have to use my Facebook to log in. But I have sites now that force you, hey, you got to log in using your Facebook or Google Plus account. We don't let you make passwords anymore. You have to log in using this now. So I'm seeing that people are now saying, well, you know what? A lot of people have Facebook. Actually, more people have Facebook than LinkedIn. And people are tapping into Facebook to find professionals. Next one is Twitter. Oh, I don't know if you guys are. I hope I have a lot of people on the line. I really urge you to go out and look at some of my past workshops I have. I've done a whole series on how to use Twitter, what sites to go to actually find jobs. I think Tweet Your Jobs or Tweet Jobs is one of them. A lot of sources that employers use to tweet jobs, to send out job posts via Twitter, and they actually use that to create lists to find professionals on Twitter. At now it was 54% in 2012. I'm thinking it's probably up to about 70% now. A lot of people aren't comfortable with Twitter because the 140 character thing, but I'm seeing a lot of people use it not so much as a recruiting tool, but as a marketing tool, more so to get professionals to actually apply to their jobs. So they're tweeting more of their jobs. They're posting more of their company culture through Twitter. You know, I'm seeing them do that more so than using it as a way to find people. Because keep in mind, finding people is using the filter. And when people have Twitter, you've seen some of the crazy usernames and, you know, some of the things they put in their profiles. It's very hard to find a person that has a complete match by something that may or may not be real. So that's why they may not use it to search for candidates, but they definitely use it to market their positions. And as you can see, evaluating the impact of social recruiting strategy, time to hire, they see that as increased candidate quality, increased by 43%, candidate quantity has increased by 50%, and employee referrals have increased by 31%. And they also show the decrease. Some say, well, you know, it stayed the same, and people that are not measuring it said, hey, we don't know. You know, again, this was back in 2012. So I'm going to pull some more recent information. Wouldn't have 2015 since we're still in 2015, but I'll see if I can get a 2014 report about this. But like I said, that I'm pretty sure all these numbers I'm showing you that are still high, these are still fairly high numbers. I'm pretty sure they've increased higher than this. So if you're not on social media and you're not using it as a platform to get yourself visible online, once again, you're doing yourself a disservice. And saying you don't know how to do it or you can't do it, you know, that's nothing more than an excuse. Because, you know, the harsh truth, the employer doesn't care. Every man for itself. You know, we're going to get the person that can get to us so we can find them the fastest. So if you're not using it and you're hiding behind the, you know, I got a profile, but I'm not using it because I don't know how excuse, hey, you're missing out. And you're making your job search much harder than it has to be. Well, I like to stop early to get questions in. We're about quarter till 7:43. So I want to open the lines up. If you have any questions, definitely raise your hand. I'll answer them. I'll unmute your mic, and you can verbally ask your question. If you want to type your question in, type it at the bottom, and I get to that as well. I do see a question below. below, and I'm going to actually get to that. Certifications can show up in your LinkedIn profile. Is that a question or a statement? Both, yes. There is a section in LinkedIn that's designated not only to education, but they broke it down to certifications, and they actually broke it down even further to people that have publications. So yes, you can list all your certifications on LinkedIn. And like I said, that past slide I showed you about getting certifications at self-paced, if you get a certification, you pass the assessment and test, put it on your LinkedIn profile. And you have the certification to verify it. So yes, you can show your certifications on your LinkedIn profile. I hope that was able to answer your question. Do I see any other questions? I saw someone raise their hand and put it down. So if you have a question, don't hesitate. Definitely type it at the bottom, and I will get to that. This is my contact information. If you have a question outside of this, definitely shoot me an email. That's the best way to contact me, because I have my emails go straight to my phone. So even though I'm not in the office, I have it tied to my hip. If you want a phone call or phone session, I urge you to visit us online first, career-innovate.com. Click on book or schedule an appointment. It's on the home page, and schedule an appointment from there. That's the best way to speak to me live, because I'm going to tell you and be upfront and honest, I'm rarely just sitting at my desk waiting for the phone to ring. So that probably be the second best way to get me on the phone if you want to talk to me, is book a phone appointment. Okay, I do see another question coming through. Oh, no worries. The recording actually is going to be available on our YouTube channel. I see that you did miss the first half of the session, and no worries about that. If you go to our YouTube, type in Career Innovations all together like you see on the screen, Career Innovations, put it in without the space, without this space. You'll see the big old logo like this pop up, and all our videos are uploaded to that channel. And they're actually put together by topic. This will be the latest video that you'll come up, and you'll see the timeline when you see it. So click on it and you'll see it there. What is an informational interview, and how do we get them? Okay, informational interview is an interview that you ask for, and I just call it an informal discussion. The technical term is informational interview, but it's really just having just an informal discussion. You go in with no expectations, and I like it that way. You're not going in asking for a job. You're not going in pressuring for an interview. In fact, if you take that approach, all they're going to do is point you back to the website. Oh, you're looking for a job? Well, check our website. Check her Career Center page out, because that's what they're going to do. So if you're trying to get an informational interview, the best approach, again, I know you missed the first half, but find out who those decision makers are. You want to start building a relationship either through professional organizations, and a lot of times you'll know what organizations they're a part of, because if you have LinkedIn, they'll tell you what members or what boards they're on, and from there you want to have some type of common ground that when you do pick up the phone and call them, I prefer that you connect with them first. So that way it's not a quote-unquote cold call. It's kind of a warm call. That means you've already introduced yourself. You have some type of common ground or commonality that you can connect with. And from there, it can be an easy, hey, what are you doing for lunch? I thought you want to go get some coffee. Something like that. It doesn't have to be nothing big that because of course if you're out of work, you may not have the resources to buy a dinner for every person you come across. So it can be something quick like, hey, let's catch a cup of coffee. I would like to talk about XYZ. But the thing about informational interviews, and I use this in networking too, you want to make sure that you're going to bring something to the table. You don't want to make this feel as if this person is sitting here having a, rattle off what the organization's about, what they're doing. This is stuff that you should have already done, which I call your homework, your research before you come to the table. You want to make sure that you're going to bring some added value in an informational interview, which means that you're going to be asking questions outside of what your organization do, because that's something that you can pretty much find online. You want to put into something, and that's why I said, if you need to, sign up for the newsletter. Find out what they're currently doing. Find something that you can talk about that's going to be a recent event. It can be, hey, they just launched a product or service, or they're completing a merger. Something that's going to be something that you can discuss that's current, that's going to pique their interest. Because if someone tells me about a service or product that I'm about to launch, or say, hey, Career Innovations comes up with a service, and somebody calls me and say, hey, I know about this service. I know about a service that you're about to launch, but I also know a competitor XYZ has a similar service. Now I'm intrigued. Hold on, is another company that's about to do this? Yeah, let's talk about this. What are they doing? Now I'm intrigued to catch a cup of coffee with this person, because now this person is just not telling me about themselves and what they do. They piqued my interest. They somewhat have become an asset to me. So that's what I mean. You want to network. You want to be able to bring something to the table other than, hey, I'm unemployed and I'm looking for a job. What can you do for me? It's kind of like that person that calls you to ask for money. And that person, that family member or friend that, that rings your phone, and before you answer it, you already know, oh, that's so-and-so. What do they want? But you don't want to become that person. You don't want to become that person that when you're reaching out, it's always something you want. You want to make sure that you can bring something to the table as well. So that's what an informational interview is about. Not only getting more information about where the company's going, but what value you can bring to the organization as well. And if you got some insider knowledge, that's a bonus as well. So you definitely want to take that approach. Okay, do I see any more questions? Have someone else asked about, thank you, who should I ask for an informational interview? People who already work in the position. I want where they are looking for more. Informational interview, it could be a person, and that's a great question, because if the person's already working in the position, they can kind of give you the ropes. And I like when you ask someone that works there, that really has, what's the word, that they don't gain anything, which means that they're not going to tell you something embellished to get you in the door, because they're like, hey, I just work here. They're not going to, they're going to be real with you and genuine, and what you see in that job description, that person may say, hey, that don't match the job. Hey, nah, they said you're going to be working 9 to 5. We work 12-hour days here. They're going to give you the real and the raw of the company. So it's good to actually talk to someone that actually is in the position. Better yet, if you can talk to someone that, the next person that you could talk to is someone that actually is in a position to do the hiring, which may be the person, if you got that position, you will actually report to. That's also someone. It's good. I would try to target both. Why? Because you're going to get, first of all, you're probably going to get 2 views of the position. The hiring manager definitely is going to give you his view of the position, but keep in mind, he's not doing it. He's just managing that role. So, what you do in the role may be totally different from what he sees from a manager's point of view versus the person that actually works in the role that can tell you, hey, this is what the description says, but this is actually what we do. So I think it's good to get both. What's the advantage? To get the best advantage of getting your foot in the door would probably be getting the one from the hiring manager. But even if you can't get in with that person, you can get recommended from the person that's working in the position, which means that, hey, they may not have any hiring authority, but they can recommend you for the job. And that goes back to how I said people get their jobs. 41% came from came from a personal network, which means they came from a referral or reference. So if you can get the buy-in from someone that actually works for the company, that's better than just applying online, because you got someone that already can get you in, that has an in, I should say. You know, if someone that works there shoots me their resume and it looks good, that saves me time from going through 500 resumes in my database. So employers also look at it that way as well. And genuinely, referrals are better quality employees. That's what some of the research shows as well. Because most people that recommend someone, they just don't recommend anyone. Because they know that their job and their name's on the line. So they're going to make sure if they recommend someone, it's going to be someone that they know is going to, be a stand-up person and, come in and do the job as they say. So I hope that was able to answer your question. Okay, do I have any more questions tonight? Okay, I don't see any more questions, and I hope I was able to answer everyone's questions. And again, this workshop will be uploaded. I'm not going to say tonight, so don't go out there tonight. I'm going to try to get it up tonight, but if it's not tonight, it definitely will be up within the next 48 hours, so within the next 2 days. In fact, I have I see who asked that question. I have your contact information through the registration, so I'll shoot you an email just to give you a heads up, like, hey, we uploaded it, so you can go out there and take a look once we get that done. If there's no other questions, it's about 5 till. We're going to go ahead and end. Please, at the end of this workshop, take the survey. It's only 8 questions. This lets us know how can we better our best, questions that we should have covered or you would like to ask, gives us insight on what we should do moving forward. Is this a great format? Should we change it? Should we, should we have other speakers? So give us insight on what we should do. If anything, let us know any topics that you'd like us to cover in the future. It just lets us know, how we can better our best. So after this workshop, it'll automatically close out. You're welcome. Thank you. It'll automatically close out, and you can actually type in your response. So I really look forward to any feedback that you can provide. If not, we do this every Monday from 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Have a great night, and talk to you soon.